All right, kid, you ready? So for 2 points, I want you to give me the name of the leader of the Silverhawks before he became a Silverhawk. Yes, look at that. Take a look at that magnificently printed face. We have one more accessory, and that is the head. But let's take a look at this action figure's packaging. Over here, we can see it also actually even snaps onto the chromed out back metal side. That's pretty cool. I think Super 7 is absolutely killing it in this space. Howdy, friends, and welcome back to Toy Box Nostalgia. I'm Douglas. In this video, we're going to be unboxing and reviewing and taking a super duper close look at the Super 7 Ultimate Silverhawks toy version of Quicksilver. Oh, how am I supposed to film this? This is a mirror. You can't see him. Very reminiscent to the toy that fueled our love for Silverhawks in the 1980s. Super 7 brings us a perfect version of Quicksilver, in my opinion. I can't wait to get this out of the package. I do have 2 more surprises for you, my friends. We're also going to be opening up and reviewing and taking a close look at the reaction toy version of Quicksilver. Also, do a little bit of comparison, and now we'll have 3 to do a comparison with. We have Bluegrass and Steel Hearts, and now Quicksilver. And finally, for the 3rd surprise, I do have the Super Pack head. You've seen this before on the channel. If you're a fan of Silverhawks and you're watching this playlist, we finally get to use the toy version head. It just kind of lacks a little bit of details in the face paint. Honestly, the face paint kind of looks like that main dude from that show Coach to me when I'm looking at it. I'm just very excited to get another Silverhawks out onto the shelf. Holy cow, this is the 4th one. Speaking of which, if you're new to Toy Box Nostalgia, you love to see a lot of Silverhawks unboxing content like this show up into your YouTube newsfeed, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Truly helps out the channel. Give me a thumbs up if you're a fan of Silverhawks and drop a comment below. Tell me what your favorite action figure is in this toy version line from Super 7. Every single time I unbox one of these toy versions, it just becomes my favorite. So we'll see, my friends. Thank you so very much for joining me this evening. We have a lot to review and take a look at, so let's just dive right in. All right, my friends, before diving in, I'd love to show off my latest comic books from Dynamite Comics. Just got these in the mail. Like, I finally finished the story now that I have number 9 and number 10. These are both the same book. These are both the same book. It's just a variant cover for collectors, right? I'm loving this one. This is Silverhawks number 10 from Dynamite Comics. This is done by Drew Moss. And yes, I understand that they don't technically wear helmets, right? So seeing Copper Kid's helmet flying through outer space technically doesn't really make any sense. But it's still really cool. And yep, you can see down here it says Drew Moss. It does not flip over to the back, but this is what's called a virgin cover because it has no Silverhawks logo, no barcodes or words or anything. This is another cover of number 10, and this is just Quicksilver. He's just kind of like flying towards, I don't know, Monstar or something. Really cool, loving that. And finally, we have these 2. The one on the right is my favorite just because of all of the colors in the guitar of Bluegrass. That looks really, really awesome. And then we have this one of Monstar. Monstar looks really good on this cover. I'm really excited to finish this story. If you've read these comic books, please let me know in the comments below. Okay, my friends, now the moment we've all been waiting for. Here is Quicksilver in that incredible Super 7 Ultimates toy version packaging. Massive Silverhawks logo says Quicksilver toy version. It is definitely chromed out blue in there. Looks really awesome. I apologize again for the glare. This guy is pretty much invisible just due to the huge amount of glare, right? He's part of the Philadelphia experiment. Up here at the top says Ultimates, right? And we have that beautiful star field. And we have that blue that wraps around the back. It's really dark, almost to black at the top. And boom, look at that ghostly image of Quicksilver on the back. Very reminiscent to the original toy from 1980s. Kenner card back that the toys came on. Very cool. Up here it says Super 7. We do have a circular sticker right there protecting this guy from theft. And take a look here. I'm recording this in 4K if you'd like to pause this and read this. Flipping over to the bottom, we can see a whole mess of words. Silverhawks is owned by Warner Brothers. We get the Super 7 logo. And here is the barcode in case you need it. Remember, friends, you need to be 14 plus to own this action figure. Let's get it out of the package. Yes, look at that. Inside the package, nothing special, just raw cardboard. But here is the bubble, my friends, and look at this beautiful chrome blue backdrop, right? This is, in fact, a double bubble, right? Awesome. And you can see this beautiful chrome blue backdrop. Holy crap, is that cool. Look, you can see my Battle Cat Eternia shirt. Here's the Dubba Bubba, my friends, right? Take a look at his face. Look at the action figure. We do have a single band there. There's no tape covering the hands. That's pretty cool. It looks like we get loads of accessories and one of the most epic looking Tally Hawks I think I've seen it ever. Honestly, ever in person. And yeah, we do get a wipey cloth here. Very cool, just because this is chromed out, my friends. Again, with the packaging, same with Copper Kid. If you hold this a certain way, I probably should have shown it. Actually, let me grab it. Here it is. I'm really sorry I didn't show this off before, but if you hold this a certain way, you can see his wings spread out, and it's almost like the shoulders are almost connected. It's not as apparent as it was for Copper Kid, but yeah, you could see his arms down, no wings, but in the background you could see wings. And I think that's a super awesome touch from the package designers at Super 7. I love this packaging. Okay, so here are both of the bubbles taken apart. This is the bottom layer of the Dubba Bubba, and we can see we got Tally Hawk and the two winged arms, and you can see the little wipey cloth. This one contains just the flight mask, essentially, and 6 additional hands. Okay, my friends, here's everything you get in the packaging. You get a very hefty, large action figure. You get an additional head with the flight mask. You get 3 metal hands, 3 real hands, 2 flight arms with the wings attached, which are plastic, a nice wipey cloth, and we cannot forget, we have a beautiful Tally Hawk here. This is very, very nice looking Tally Hawk, but it is painted, you know, accordingly. Like, again, this is supposed to look like that original toy from the 1980s, including the accessories. So let's kick this all off by taking a close look at Quicksilver's details, my friends. Take a look at that magnificently printed face, my friends. That is beautiful. Holy cow, is that awesome. Remember not to touch the face as much as possible and the arm, because that paint is applied over the chrome. By the way, I've received multiple suggestions from you all about some matte finish clear coat I could spray over this, and I truly appreciate that. Definitely going to give that a try in the near future, and if it works out, I'll make a YouTube short, because I really love to protect these as much as possible. But right off the bat, honestly, I tell you, this is a very large, hefty action figure. This is on par with like a large Masterverse action figure, and it's very heavy, and the chrome is cool to the touch, so it almost feels like you really are touching metal. He is a absolute shining chrome color. It's almost like a deep black color, but it reflects any type of light. So what you're seeing, like all the dark areas, what you're seeing is like the darkness of the recording studio that I'm in right now. You can see the sculpting of his muscles. You can see there's sculpting there. And also keep in mind that some of these details are going to be a little bit gauzed over, I think, due to the vac metal that's applied to the action figure itself after it's actually cast in plastic. It's going to be smooth. It's going to smooth stuff out, right? Take a look at his neck right there, neck muscles. Absolutely awesome. Take a look at the profile look of his head. Really, really cool. This guy is super ripped. This is a very large action figure. Holy cow. Here's his belt. Very, very cool looking. And then we have like some details here, obviously, from the, you know, this is probably the sculpt that was used for the cartoon version. And then they just kind of, you know, almost did a repaint, right? Maybe the face might be different, or maybe it's just a different expression. I'm not 100% sure because we haven't opened that up here on the channel. He does have the rear talon like a hawk, right? As we saw in the cartoon. And holy cow, I'm holding a toy version of Quicksilver that's brand new. I don't know if these are boots or not. Like, this goes up into the muscle, like the calf muscles right here, and then it kind of wraps up here, and then it connects to these lines right here, which look like they're connected to the knee pads, and then it just comes right back down. So I think he is technically wearing boots, and you can see the details of his feet right here. He almost has like wingtip shoes, right? Why wouldn't he have wingtip shoes? He's a Silverhawk. We can see that there's some chrome paint in the hinges. I'm pretty sure that's going to fail probably instantly as soon as we start checking out the articulation. But he comes with 2 balled up fists as his default hands, right? Speaking of hands, let's now take a close look at Quicksilver's accessories. And we'll begin with the hands, right? We'll start with the partly metal side of his body. This dude's a cyborg, right? And then he has an open hand, like he's ready to grab someone, right? Look at that, like, hey. And then next up, we have a gripping hand right here. Look at those knuckles. Everything is sculpted in very cool. I'm loving the segments of the fingers. Even though the chrome paint is on there and you're losing some of that detail, you could still make it out, if you're looking at it. And then we have his flight hand. Look at his knuckles on this one. The sculpting of the hands is really awesome. Holy cow, the paint looks so cool. Next up are the 3 real hands. So we have that gripping hand right here, and we do have the flight hand, and then we have the reaching out and grab your hand, right? And this hand, you could see the details are there, but they're very human. So you don't get essentially like a repaint of the other hands that's just simply mirrored. This is like a different sculpt. It looks very human. You can see all the bones in the knuckles, the segments of the fingers. You could see the finger bones going down the back of the hand, connecting at the wrist. You see that in the shadows? And there's also a spray over it. Like there's additional spray. I can see it's almost like a dark peach color. You may be able to see it's on the back of the hands. And it just makes it look that much more fantastic. Like, I'm loving all of these details. Next up, we have his flight mask, my friends. So this is just essentially a separate head, right? I think it'd be really cool if Super 7 kind of just gave us one head, and then we could just connect the piece to the front, but that's okay. Getting an additional head is pretty cool, but you could see down inside of the socket right here, it almost looks like it's cast in a clear plastic, right? And then the clear plastic is obviously coated in the vac metal material, and then they paint over the visor right there, the large visor piece, and this is awesome. This is really, really cool. What a great touch to add this. They didn't have to add this because the original toy, I don't think, had that. My original toy kind of looked like this, actually, and it had like some sort of chrome fabric wings that connected here and then went in a D shape, right? Straight across and then down like this. And then there was like I think some sort of button or something where it snapped onto the back or plugged into the back like some sort of peg. Next up are the flight wings, right? And we've seen flight wings like this already multiple times here. The only time we didn't was with Bluegrass. Here we can see we do have that hole right there to peg in the blast effects. You can get the blast effects specifically for Quicksilver from his cartoon version. Here is the cartoon version. Oh, this guy gets me every time. Dumb joke. Here is the cartoon version. You can see these blast effects. These come with this version. This is based off of that cartoon, whereas this one's based off of the toy. The reason why I'm opening up all the toy versions is because I'm on Christmas break and I just want to feel some very hefty amounts of nostalgia. In fact, I want to OD on nostalgia right now. So yeah, those holes are there, as you can see right there, to plug those blast effects into if you want to use them. And again, here we have the partly real arm. We have his skin painted over the vac metal. It's like super apparent there. You can see it. There's a little bit of bleed from the dry brush, maybe from the stencil. And I don't know why, but these come backwards. You have to flip the shoulders around here. But there's no other articulation on these. These parts do in fact come out, by the way, so if you do want to display him without this blast effect on his arm, you can take these pieces off of the arm also, but this is what it looks like. I didn't have to warm it up or anything. This essentially is just a slug. There's no movement, it's just one solid piece of plastic, and then you could see the ball joint right there, it just connects right inside there, and this is a really cool feature of an accessory. How cool is that? Like, this is an accessory. I think that is really awesome. And finally, my friends, I'm not going to show off this because, I mean, what is this? You know what I mean? We've all seen these. Let's take a close look at Tallyhawk, right? Holy cow, is this guy awesome. So he is kind of painted like the toy. He is cast in a very dull gray plastic. I love the open wings right here with the individual feathers. Well, are they feathers? No, they're steel, right? Very cool. His leg has 2 points of articulation. So it articulates up here where his thigh connects to his body, as you see right there. Big old peg there. And then his knee, I guess it's a knee right there, or just second segment of the leg. I just call it a knee. So that is the articulation. The head does in fact spin, and I don't think it's meant to come out. I can't get it out just by pulling on it. So we do get 360 spin there. And yeah, it's essentially just a really cool Tallyhawk. We do not get one in a perched version. Look at those details, right? I love the different colors of plastic. Like this, his body is a little bit darker than the wings. But I love his face design. You can see his eyes, his beak is open, his tongue is painted, his eyebrows are painted, and he's got a blue head. Wow, that is just really nice. What an incredible accessory. I love Silverhawks. All right, my friends, next up is action figure articulation, my friends. So we're going to spin at the head 360 right here. The head is on a ball joint. You can see that ball joint right there. When you pull the head off, try to hold it like this so you're not grabbing the face, because the face paint, again, is pretty fragile. But we can see that the... Oh, that's neat. The plastic that the ball joint is cast in is like galaxy looking. It's sort of see-through, and there's a lot of glitter in it. And it's like a dull gray color, like a deep, almost a cool gray. So anyways, with the articulation, put on his flight mask. Obviously, we're going to spin 360 at the head, just like so. And then he's going to be able to look up just about that much, and then look down pretty darn good. The joystick movement, we could see, we got a little bit of side to side getting funky there, and then back and forth this way. Yeah, there's a good amount. You know, considering that this doesn't move around that much inside there, it's a worthy amount of articulation in the head. Also considering this is kind of like a display piece, it's not really a toy that you should be playing with. It's definitely a collector's item for sure. Moving down to the shoulder, as we saw is on this peg right here. It has a massive hinge, and the peg goes horizontal across the body. So when you plug the arms back in, just make sure they're straight. But with that hinge, it's ratcheted, as you probably heard. We have a bicep cut, so we can spin 360 at the bicep, which is very cool. Moving down to the elbow, we have a single joint, and you can see, look at that untouched vac metal inside that hinge joint, right? I don't think that's going to last long. You have to be okay with losing those portions of the vac metal, and maybe a little bit in other areas too, like the wings and such, just because of the way you have to manipulate them and hold them. But yeah, you could spin at the elbow, and the hinge brings the elbow up about this far. So the angle itself is wider than 90 if you're considering the bicep as the other piece of the line. So right here down at the fist, we know that these are going to be on a peg. So there is what the peg looks like, and the hinge goes into the palm, my friends. Yeah, I love that hand. This action figure is so cool looking. All right, so we do have a diaphragm cut. And again, I'm going to try not to touch anything that's painted onto the vac metal, like the Silverhawks emblem right there on his chest. So we could see there's some spin, no crunch. So it's just a spin. It's just there for like realistic, like body turning, body movement, stuff like that. And we do have a little bit down here at the waist, and it is all hard plastic. Like the diaper piece is all hard plastic, obviously for the vac metal to stick. And yeah, so you're not going to get too much down there at the waist, just about this much right there. And then as far as the diaphragm goes, you get a lot. So you get a lot more movement in the diaphragm, which I love, by the way. I think that is so cool. See, look at all of that movement. Like, look at that articulation. That's crazy in the diaphragm. I love that. And then moving down to the pelvis, let's open these up a little bit, and you could see that there is no dumbbell. Like, the ball joints are just like these shoulders. You can see this piece right here is an entire ball, and that is essentially a ball joint. It's pegged in between the pelvis, and then you can see right here there's very large hinges inside there. So what that means for us is, the technical stuff out of the way, we could get this kind of spinning right here, which is nice. We don't go back too far, and again, that's because the diaper is hard plastic. If this were vinyl back here, it would stretch, and you could get like more of like a better running position, right? Just a tad less than reality. You know what I mean? Like when you're running, it doesn't actually go back very, very far. But if this can go back maybe like 2 or 3 more millimeters, I feel like it would be perfect. Moving down to the knee, there's a single joint at the knee. And here, I'm going to show you the hinge. There you go. Yeah, it's got that same like dull gray plastic we saw on the peg ball joint for the head. And it spins, obviously. And yeah, look at that hinge. Very nice, right? And then moving down to the foot, there's a nice rocker at the foot. This is a lot better than some of the others that I've opened up so far. So if his legs are spread apart, look at that. Perfectly flat on the ground. Very nice. And then his hinge, he does have a hinge, but I'd be very careful with it because it's kind of ratchet. It feels like it's ratcheted, and this feels like a little bit loose here. Again, these are like collector's pieces, right? Like these are for display, and I feel like you probably shouldn't be manipulating them in such like that as you would with other toys for toy photography or, you know, just playing around with your toys, right? I keep cupping his head just so you could see that it's chrome and not black. Look at that, right? You get it away, boom, it just looks like Venom, right? Super rad. I love it. So that's all the articulation, details, and accessories of this incredible action figure. Next up, we have one more accessory, and that is the head that looks like the dude from Coach. Yeah, sorry if that was a glass shattering thing for anybody. I wasn't trying to ruin it for anyone, but holy cow, I can't unsee it, right? The last action figure to benefit from this super pack that I got from Super 7 when I pre-ordered all of this stuff is Buzzsaw, and that is going to be the toy version right there. So take a look at the differences in these heads. The one on the right is very toy accurate. The one on the left has a little bit of extra detail, so it's almost like a combination of the cartoon version and the toy version together. But both look epic. This is awesome. I'll probably almost always display him with this head, but if I do, that means I have to swap out Steelheart's toy head because we got a Steelheart toy head also. So let's see what it looks like on the action figure so you can get a better look. Also going to plug in his winged hands, my friends. So I'm going to go like this, and just you can see right here. I'm just going to try as hard as I can not to touch that forearm at all. And I'm just going to plug in the chrome hand right here. Yeah, all right, it's on there. So just be very careful. After playing with Copper Kid for a while and doing the toy photo and stuff and just putting him in different poses and such for, you know, my display, that mini display that I had under my mini Christmas tree, I noticed that one of his hands, this piece, the hinge piece, came right out. But because it's not a vac metal version, it's a toy version, it just kind of snapped back in there. And I was able to just squeeze really hard on the wrist and make sure that it stayed in there. But it still feels super loose. So I would just be very careful of that. If you're, you know, posing your action figures for your display. This stuff is like, treat it like, I don't know, like fine china or something, right? Because this is a collector's piece. You know what I mean? Like this is different from our standard action figure. Let me just like kind of go like this a little bit so he looks less like he's... Yeah, there we go. And to get him to look up, you know, with this head, he could look up just about that far. So that is the Super Pack toy version head. On the toy version of Quicksilver, what a huge blast from the past for me. That is awesome. I have one last thing to show off here, and that's going to be the reaction version, which is also a toy version, my friends, and he almost has the same exact head, right, as this one, but we can see he has a little bit more detail. So let's take a look at this action figure's packaging, right? This is our standard reaction figure packaging. It does have the Silverhawks logo. It's unpunched, says Super 7, must be 14 years of age or older, and then we have Tallyhawk, says Quicksilver action figure, and then we have a really nice comic book style artwork of Quicksilver, which looks very reminiscent to the Super 7 cartoon version, by the way. And then we have our action figure in this bubble like we do normal regular reaction figures that we get from Super 7. We can see Tallyhawk isn't in his flight form, it's actually in his perched form. So that's really cool. It just like kind of connects in quotes to his arm. It doesn't really, but here's the cross sale. The last one we finally get to open is Monstar, and we'll do that soon here on the channel. Up here, we have that beautiful blurred starry sky in the background. It's actually kind of 1990s looking, right? It's because we have that blurred background. Then we have the Silverhawks logo over top of it. Super 7 up here at the top left, really rad. Collect them all. That I did Super 7 because I love me some Silverhawks. Here's the barcode in case you need it. Let's get this guy out of the package. Here's the action figure in the bubble. It's just one simple single bubble, and he only gets one accessory, which is Tallyhawk. And there's no bands or anything. Here is the action figure outside of the bubble, my friends. This is very standard for a Super 7 reaction figure, right? We have 5 points of articulation. He's going to articulate at the shoulders up here, articulate, spin completely at the head, 360. No ball joints, by the way. And then this guy, oh yeah, this guy articulates a little better than the reaction or the Ultimates version. As you can see here, I really like how far back the leg can go. See, that's very natural looking to me. And then, you know, forward kicking, you get about that far. So you can get this guy to sit down if you wanted to, right? Nice sitting position. And then we get Tallyhawk as the accessory. Here's Tallyhawk. He does not have eyes, unfortunately, but that's okay. Look how small and beautiful these details are of this wonderful fighting hawk bird. Wow, very cool. This guy was the inspiration for all of the other fighting hawks, right? You can see he has an orange beak. He's got yellow eyebrows and a blue head, just kind of like this one, the non-reaction version, right? The Ultimates version. He could definitely bite his own head, right? He's doing pretty well for himself, right? The big one, and then the little one's he just wants to hide, right? So his arms don't move at all, like his talons or anything don't move, and they're just kind of in a grip position so that you can, in fact, grip him onto the arm. I'm hoping this works. There we go. Wow. Okay, this one snapped in there, into place. This one feels a lot sturdier than any of the others, even any of the Ultimates figures I've opened so far. I'm hoping when we get Flashback and other Silverhawks that come with Fighting Hawks, any action figure in this series actually comes with a Fighting Hawk. I'd love to see Super 7 step that up and like get that to like really wrap around the wrist like that, because that was very satisfying to me. I was just expecting it just to completely fall off, right? Over here we could see it also actually even snaps onto the chromed out vac metal side. That's pretty cool. This guy is so loose though that he can't hold Tallyhawk up. Look how loose this guy is. I feel like reaction figures are just better in their package, if you ask me. And I've noticed a lot of other collectors on YouTube say the same thing. And then we have this guy, which is much better being outside of the packaging, just because you get to see him in his full glory. So coming up next, my friends, is a height measurement, and then we're going to do some comparisons between this action figure and other Silverhawks action figures from the Super 7 Ultimates toy line. Okay, my friends, so this toy version of Quicksilver from the Super 7 Ultimates toy version is 7 3/8 inches tall. So he's almost 7.5 inches tall, which matches scale. Like, he was definitely the largest of the main Silverhawk action figures as far as height goes, not necessarily as far as muscles and beefiness like Steel Will. In fact, in second place, we have Bluegrass and Steel Will. In third, we have Steel Heart. And then finally, last, obviously, of the main Silverhawks, we have Copper Kid, was the shortest because, you know, he was a kid. So as always, I'm going to bring in the largest of the Silverhawks action figures that I own, and that is Monstar. Monstar is 11 inches tall, from the bottom of his feet up to the very tip of the tallest spike on his head. So he towers over the Silverhawks, and this scale looks really great in person to me. This is the toy version of Monstar. Monstar did not have vac metal back in the 1980s, so what you're looking at are two modern renditions of those toys from the 1980s, and that is truly fantastic. Speaking of which, here I have brought in Steelheart, and she's holding Bluegrass's hat because they posed together for pictures, and I just love these action figures. They're so much fun, but as you can see, she's a lot shorter than Quicksilver, and that makes sense. Again, that matches the scale. Next up, let's bring in Bluegrass, and you can see that Bluegrass is just a little bit shorter than Quicksilver, and again, that matches scale perfectly. And finally, we have the shortest. I don't have Steel Will open just yet. We're going to open them up here shortly on the channel, but here we have Copper Kid. This isn't a toy version of Copper Kid. All of these are toy versions except him. I don't believe that Super 7 made a vac metal version of Copper Kid yet, though I did hear rumors about it coming to SDCC at some point. It seemed like it just never showed up. One thing I gotta mention is to get Tallyhawk to connect to Quicksilver's arm, I actually had to use a little bit of sticky tack. You could probably see it in his talons there, because just like any of the other action figures, the Fighting Hawk doesn't really attach to the arm very well at all. Okay, so next up, I'm bringing in the toy version of Lion-O from the Super 7 Ultimates toy line. These are all Super 7 toys, and they're all toy versions, which means that they're very reminiscent to those toys from the 1980s that we all fell in love with, except for Copper Kid. So I think they all still look great together. This being a toy version of Lion-O, he just has a different head sculpt and obviously different paint choices like color palette, and then his sword's a different color palette, and his claw shield is just a little bit different in sculpt, and it's just solid red. Yeah, so if you can imagine, in the 1980s, I had all of these toys, and they just looked a heck of a lot goofier. Like, again, these are modern renditions, and I think Super 7 is absolutely killing it in this space. The Silverhawks action figures in the 1980s were made by Kenner, and then the Thundercats action figures, I believe, were made by LJN. And that brings us to the end, my friends. For final thoughts, I gotta say that Quicksilver is truly phenomenal. I'm very, very happy with this toy version. Again, I'm going into this knowing it's a collector's display piece and not really an action figure or a toy. And with that in mind, I'm just not going to move them around very much. I'm just going to essentially put them on display, maybe move them every now and then for different poses, for different toy photographs of the display, but that's about it. I really like the way that all of these look together. Like, I love the way that this is shaping up. And I can't imagine what that looks like from a toy design process. Like, do you just start designing one character, then move to the next, and just hope once they're all together they look great? Or do you sketch them all out? I don't know how that process goes, but I think Super 7 does an absolutely fantastic job at that. And I know that they are very reluctant to release the vac metal toys just because of truly how fragile they are. They scuff so easily. And again, the face paint and the arm paint being over top of the vac metal makes them just that much more fragile. But I'd love to know what you all think, so please drop a comment below letting me know what you think of these action figures, and specifically the Quicksilver toy version from Super 7 Ultimates. Thank you so very much for sticking to the end, my friend. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week, and always remember to grab your cameras and collect and shoot.